We're going to look at how you overcome standard stalls and objections. Hi, I'm Matthew Elwell of the Elite Closing Academy. If this is your first time here, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, but much more importantly, ping the notification bell. David came towards me and my 2-day training as a solution in this role play for him in his business about closing deals. And we've spoken to David, one of my team who's trained by me in the Elite Closing Academy. We call it being punted. What are his pains? How urgent is it? What does he need to get better results? T is for trust. We've done all of this. This is a closing call. Hi, is that David?
Yes.
David, hi, it's Matt.
Hi, Matt.
By the way, if you get a response like that, which was quite sort of like, if you could imagine a smiley face, it wasn't smiling, it was like flat. It's really important that you use a rapport word just to create that emotional memory within David. So I've told you about that so that you can look out for it again. So we're going to go again, and he's going to give me exactly the same response first time round. Hi, is that David?
Yep.
David, hi, it's Matt.
Hi, Matt.
From the Elite Closing Academy?
Yeah.
See, he's still like this. So I need to carry on because at the moment, until I get a proper smiley face, David's not qualified. From the Elite Closing Academy?
Oh, yes.
There you go. Now he's qualified, he knows exactly who it is. So now I've got David qualified, he knows who I am. I'm now going to ask him a golden question that is linked to my outcome. In this case, it's to sign him up for one of my 2-day trainings. David, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. The point of today's call is to get you booked on to one of the next 2-day trainings. I've got November 17 or 18 or December 16, 17. Which one suits you best?
December, when was it?
17, 18.
No, can't make it.
Understand you can't make that one. We also have January 16 or 17.
No, I'm out of the country till February.
Understand you're out the country till February, so let's get you booked on to the November one. It's just 497 plus VAT. What's the 16 digits across your card, and I'll get you done.
Yeah, I need to talk to my business partner about that one.
Pause. So, just remember, and I think this is absolutely critical, what I was using there is something called the 3 A's. Agree, appease, and accelerate. So the agree part is, he's out of the country. Appreciate you're out of the country. That's the agree. So flip back with me. Let's get you booked in November. That's before he goes. So that's the appease and accelerate back into my outcome of getting you booked on. So, David, of course you need to speak to your business partner. Agree. Appease. In fact, I wouldn't want you to come to my 2-day training if your business partner was against solving the problem that you were telling us about last week of leaving money on the table. Appease. So let's get you booked on. I've got November 16, 17. What's the 16 digits across your card, and we'll get you your space booked.
Yeah, I really
That's
need
the accelerate.
I really need to talk to my partner first.
Of course you do. Agree. Be clear with me. What information would your partner need to hear from you today for us to flip straight back into, right, let's get me booked on?
To know what results we'll get from the training.
Great. Let's imagine your partner was with us now. What do you think the answer would be? What result would you need to get from the 2-day training for it to be the greatest decision that you and your business partner ever made?
Well, we need to know that we'll get more sales in, obviously.
Of course. What else?
And close more deals.
Brilliant. How many more deals would you need to close as a result of my 2-day training?
4 a month.
4 a month. Great. I'm in. What's 16 digits across your card? And let's get you booked on.
But how do I know I'm going to get the 4 a month?
We don't know, and that's the best bit. What we do know is this. When you come to the 2-day training and commit time, money and energy, the results follow. So the first thing you've got to do is commit. So what's the 16 digits across your card, and I'll get you booked on.
Again, I need to talk to my partner.
Great. So let's do it this way. What can you give me now so that you don't miss out? If your business partner goes absolutely nuts, as I've already said, I wouldn't want you to come anyway. I'll just give you your money back tomorrow. So what can you give me today? And let's make sure you don't miss out.
Well, what can you do for the 2 of us?
What a super question. So here's how it works. It's normally 497 times 2 plus VAT. When there's 2 of you, we save you £250 if you're paying in full today, and it's just £750 plus VAT.
So I can pay a deposit now, and if he says no, then we'll get the refund back, and if we want yes, then we'll just pay the difference.
Yes.
Okay.
Great. What's the 16 digits across your card?
4762.
So for those of you watching the video, this happens a lot. You just remember the context. The context is we've done all of this stuff, and chucking in the partner at this stage, need to speak to the partner, is not acceptable. Here's the reason why. For those of you watching going, well, hang on a minute, that happens to me. We'd already asked David previously when we were prospecting, not closing, when we were prospecting, which means to understand him and his business partner, we'd already asked who made the final decision. And he'd said, as long as I speak to my business partner now with all the information, the next time we speak, it can be me. So as we'd already done that, that was just a stall of David. And it's a common stall. It buys people time. This is why one of the most powerful prospecting questions you can have is, who else is involved with the final decision? What would they need to see in terms of information so that the next time we do speak, any fears or concerns they had have been put to one side and they're ready to rock? That's a question you must ask in the prospecting journey. In my 2-day training, one of the first things that we do on day one is focus on the prospecting journey, because if you're getting that bit wrong, it will affect the close. So if I hadn't earned the right to use the 3 A's that I've just earned with David because I didn't understand him from a previous prospecting call, that would have felt really bad. And he'd have been like, look, sod off, I need to speak to my partner. But I'd already talked to him about it, so I knew it was a stall. And in the end, because I had the skill, he booked both of them. So ask yourself this question: when you're in a close, what are you hearing? What are the little stalls? What do people say just to push you away? If you are getting stalls and objections in the close, comment in the box and I'll answer it, give you the exact words that you need to say just to get over it. It's called the 3 A's: agree, appease, accelerate. Comment in the box and let's have a look. In this video, we're gonna talk about the biggest problem faced around the world when it comes to closing a deal. And that is a standard stall, not objection, a standard stall in the close. I really want to do it, but I need to have a think about it. And in this video, we're going to cover the one technique that you and your team need to use every single time. And the technique that we use is something called the 3 A's. Master this little technique and I promise you this goes away. However, and there is a however, before we talk about the 3 A's, I've got to get something really, really clear. And that is your cycle, your sales cycle, to go from at the beginning of the sales journey between two humans, two businesses, and remember, businesses are humans. That process from the start to get up to the point when you have earned the right to ask a closing question. Without a shadow of a doubt, when a prospect says, I'd love to, but I need to have a think about it, or I'd love to, but it's not the right time, those kind of stalls, they're only saying it because you have created uncertainty in them. And that can be a number of different reasons. Often you haven't earned the right to ask a closing question. So if I just show you this on the whiteboard, because this is really, really important. This is the start and this is the finish. Or even if this is the start and this is the finish, this is called the dungeon of denial. This is where you have got right up to the very end and your head is pushing against the door of the dungeon of denial. Now, if you're hearing from prospects, I'd love to, but at that point, you haven't earned the right to close. So that's the first thing. You must get this process of prospecting absolutely nailed down. And the way I split it is this. This is where you make a written proposal. Now, prior to making a written proposal, it's important that you understand every single pain that they've got linked to your product or service being the solution. That's the first thing. The second thing, you must know what they need. So by knowing their real pains and real problems, you've got to know what they need to solve those pains and problems. By asking powerful questions that gain understanding and knowledge rather than telling, which is bad selling, or presuming or assuming to know, you're asking, that in itself will stand you and your team out and create trust, human to human, prospect to prospect, board to board. Once you've got trust, you then find out how urgent is this to resolve. When you have those four things, that is when you can put something in writing and make a proposal. Now, everything that happens in this section, this is now a warm prospect, and you can start to bring closing questions into the equation. If you're asking closing questions prior to this proposal, it's too early. And that's where you start to hear things like, I just need to have a think about it. Okay? If you're hearing those things, you must look at your process and do not ask closing questions until you've earned the right and you've got these four critical things. Now, this can take time, and it's important that you as a business, no matter what you do, whether you're a professional service, whether you're in property, whether you're an expert, whether you're in the financial services, doesn't matter. You have to understand this process so that when you do get to the dungeon of denial, humans are always looking for ways to get out. I'll have a think about, take my time. And if your team have earned the right and really understand this, you never get people saying, I need to have a think about it, because you'd have found that out. How long do you need to take time? What time do you need to make decisions? Is a question you'd ask prior to making a written proposal. That hopefully makes sense. Now, let's get to the 3 A's. If your team have followed all of this religiously, and you get up to asking a closing question right on the dungeon of denial, so how quickly do you want to get started? I'd love to, but I need to have a think about it. As long as you follow that process, the next 3 A's can be brought into play. I'm going to do this again, just so you're super clear. If you found all of that information out about your prospect, and you understand one of the questions when you're prospecting prior to the proposal was, what time scale do you need to make the decision? If you've already asked that question, and you ask a closing question with all this information, and their answer is, I'd love to, but it's not the right time. So the first thing you must do is always agree. So look, I'd absolutely love to go ahead with your product or service, but it's just not the right time. I need to have a bit more of a think about it. First thing you must do is, look, I understand it's not the right time, and I know you've got to think about it. Here's what we're going to do. Let's get you booked on so you don't miss out on the course. And while you're thinking about it, if something really comes up and you want to stop, it's fine. We can talk about that later. Now, I've got 2 dates to get you started, Monday the 10th or July the 17th, which one suits you best. And that's the accelerate, so flip back into your acceleration. Now, if you're not clear on this technique, it takes training, it takes time. I just want to make this really clear. You can only use this technique when you've done this, and you've earned the right to stay in the game by using the 3 A's. You must understand that this is not a technique that can be used this side of the fence or in here when you don't really understand them, when you don't understand your prospect, when you don't know what their pains are, when you don't know what they need, when you don't trust each other, and when you don't know the tiger in the garden moment, the real what's going to happen if they don't solve it. This is crucial. You can only use the closing technique using the 3 A's when you have earned the right to ask the big question. And just remember, it's called the dungeon of denial, and there is an E somewhere in dungeon, for a reason. Is that, look, in this modern age, we're all fearful of being hard sold to. We're all fearful of being duped. Even when we trust people, there's, if we've had an experience in the past that was poor, and let's face it, there's so much bad selling in the world right now, that often we've had a bad experience. I mean, we've all done that, and we've all been part of a bad experience. That's where this lives in the brain. It's just really important that you have the skill to recognise when you've earned the right, that even with a little stall like I just need to have a think about it, that's not a reason why they shouldn't do it. And just remember, I'll have a think about it. If you understand those three, it's not a reason for them not to do it right now. So to recap, to make this really clear, the technique, when you or your team have earned the right to ask a closing question, where you understand your prospect on a personal level, you understand what the problems are, what their pains are, what they need, you've gained huge trust that you're the solution to a problem, and you know that if they don't change or don't do something differently, more importantly, they know if something doesn't change, it's going to continue to hurt the business badly. That's a really detailed training. I really hope that it's connected with you. If it has, comment in the box. How do you and your team get around, I need to have a think about it? What techniques have you got? What do you use at this point? When you get to that moment where they really want to do it and there's just that little bit of, I need to have a think about it, the 3 A's are agree, appease, and then accelerate back into the close. Agree, appease, accelerate. That's the technique. During this video, I'm going to give you the 3 key objections that we hear all the time, and more importantly, how do you overcome them? The 3 absolute key objections that I hear just about everywhere I go, in just about every single industry, are: I haven't got enough time, I haven't got enough money, or I need to speak to my business partner or partner. The technique that you must use to overcome these standard objections, and let me just be clear, these are not really objections, they're pauses, they're stalls, but let's call them objections for now. So the skill that you need to learn to overcome these is called the 3 A's. The first A stands for agree. This disarms anybody who throws something like a stall at you. So let's give you an example. I'd absolutely love to go ahead, but I just haven't got the time. That is a standard stall in the world of sales. So the first thing you must do is go, of course, time is a problem. Or, I understand that you're pushed for time. So I try and mirror, in fact I don't try, I mirror the words that they've used. So if somebody says, I'd love to go ahead, but I just haven't got the time, I will agree and say, I totally understand you haven't got the time. This is actually really disarming for people, because think about the opposite. What do most salespeople do here when you say I haven't got the time? Their tonality changes, they speed up, they get a little bit flustered, and what happens to your energy? What happens to you when this is happening? It feels a bit uncomfortable. So the thing to do is go into a complete and total and utter position of agreement. Totally understand that time is a problem. That's the first thing. The next thing you have to do is appease. And I'm going to use the third thing here because this happens quite quickly and I want you to see how quickly it actually happens. So the last part is accelerate. And that's accelerate into whatever it is that you decided to do at the very beginning of the call or the face-to-face situation or exchange that you're having. So if your outcome was to close somebody and they start off and they say, you know, let me just go into a live role play. So, you know, hi, is that Mr. Smith? Yeah, who's that? This is Matthew from the Elite Closing Academy. Oh, hi Matthew. Look, the reason for the call today is to get you booked on to my 2-day training in a couple of weeks. Oh, I'd absolutely love to, but I'm a bit strapped for time at the moment. I understand you're strapped for time, so I'm going to get right to the point. What are you doing on the 26th and 27th of April? And I just accelerate into a closing question. That's a really good example of how you agree, appease, and accelerate. Now, you need to use this exact process for all of the objections, all of the stalls. I'd love to, but I'm too busy. I'd love to, but it's more than I want to spend. I'd love to, but I haven't got the time. All of them follow agree, appease, and accelerate. And I need to make this clear. It all depends on where you are in the sales process as to what the acceleration is. If you're at the very beginning of the process, then this accelerate question is a prospecting question, such as, I understand you're busy, so let me ask you the question. When would be a good time for us to speak about XYZ? That's a really good example at the beginning. If it's a close, in a close, they're expecting the call. It's a hot qualified lead. You've locked the call back down, they know you're going to call, and they just chuck in a standard stall. Matt, I'm in a meeting at the moment. Give us a call back at 7. Of course you're in a meeting at the moment. I understand how busy it is, so let me get to the point. How many tickets do you want for the event? What's the 16 digits across your card? I'm just going to get you booked in. Now, for some of you listening to this, you might be thinking, wow, that was a little bit get to the point. This is the point. If you are in a closing conversation, this acceleration must be towards the close. In this video, I'm going to show you the number one shitty little word that is killing businesses all over the globe when we get to the close. This is the one word, and I'm going to share it with you right now, that you have to avoid. Now, if you've got a sales team and you're sat in your office and you're listening to people butcher quality leads, I guarantee you they'll be using this word at some point. It's called the dungeon of denial, the moment when the conversation between salesperson and prospect has got to that moment where they just need to close it down with a great closing question. However, this word kills closes. Would. So would you like to get started? Would you be interested in getting the paperwork signed? Here's the reason why it's such a problem. Would brings no into play. Would you like to start? Now, in this country, the UK, right here, right now, we're so polite, we don't like to say no. So here's what you get when somebody brings no into play with a word like, would you like to start? Yes, but I need to think about it. Yes, but I just need to double check with my business partner. Yes, but it's not the right time. Just that one word, would, brings no into play, and it fires up an ancient part of the human brain where fear lives. Please, please, please ask yourself this question. When you get to the close, or when your team get to the close, so think about how much hard work the marketing team have done, how much hard work's gone into delivering and getting people to trust you and the journey for a prospect, and you get to the moment where you just need to close. Ask yourself, what language are my team using? If they're using a sentence that starts with would, or words similar to it, things like could, are, can, all of these words bring no into play and fire up an ancient part of the human brain. It buys time. It gives you the option to say, do you know what, I'd love to, but I just need to think about it. Avoid this word and watch your conversions go through the roof. If this has been useful, be sure to click on the subscribe button and the notification bell. Be sure to click on one of the links here. I promise you, absolute guarantee, you will increase your sales.